there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. Well, this is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but sure feels great in my hands. This is May, June 2018. Lee Plamadon Jr. From Plamadon Hospitality Partners. Thanks for being on the cover. We loved it. And I always liked seeing what I was doing, throwing some axes. It's my publisher's page way back when. I think this was either in Nashville or Charlotte. I forget. We were doing our cocktail parties before the roller coaster started in 2020. Anyway, had a great time, and that's where that picture is. But another healthy looking issue. This was 296 pages. Anyway, just chock full of stuff. But like I said, we're digital now. Don't miss the printer. Don't miss the post office. Best decision we ever did. And millions of people hitting our website. And without all you out there, thank you so much for finding us on the web and watching some of these episodes as well as reading the magazine. It's TGIF today. Looking forward to the weekend. Congratulations to the Texas Rangers winning their first World Series down in Arlington. And I know they're going to have a big parade, and what an exciting time for those guys. Listen, whenever a team ever wins their first championship, there's always first. You can get second, third, and it's great for us. But winning it the first time is just a really, really special thing. So congratulations to those guys. It's a long season, 164 games, and then you got to go through the playoffs and all that stuff, and all the practice and the travel and gut-wrenching decisions and close games. And here we are. You get it done, and you end up being able to raise the championship trophy. So congratulations to the Rangers. Everything else, hey, listen, it's football season, the NFL, you got college, everything's going on. Basketball just started, ice hockey, and soon we're going to have indoor lacrosse going. Our Georgia Swimmer will be hitting the indoor turf. And before you know, it's going to be the end of the year, and we're going to go through all the rest of the season, and then lacrosse will be starting up in spring. Can't wait. Go Pios. So with that said, I've saved the best for last today on my week of recordings, talking to a special gentleman. He's a lacrosse guy, too. That's how actually we met on LinkedIn. Reach out to me. We talked some lax. That's how I got him on the episode. His name is Chris Munz, and he's with Voosh. He's the vice president of growth, and they're a technology provider. They help restaurateurs, helping with their delivery and efficiencies and all that. So, Chris, say hello from to our listeners out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, up from Maine, outside of Portland.
I appreciate that. That was a great intro, man. I really appreciate it. Well, to meet you. It was nice to meet you on LinkedIn and have our conversation earlier today. I love talking lax. I'll talk lax all day long, man. It's why I'm who I am, I will say. And it's been an important part of my life, and it's always nice to talk to fellow laxers.
Listen, lacrosse, fastest sport on 2 feet. That's just the reality of it. And it's an American game. The Indians invented it, and it's a homegrown sport. So it's been really special to me. When we were talking, I didn't even pick up a lacrosse stick till I was a sophomore in prep school, and I was really a baseball guy, believe it or not, hockey and baseball. And then baseball was just too slow for me. So I don't want to.
So you want to hear my first lacrosse stick I ever purchased? Because I was a baseball kid, little league, and they sold chances, and one of the prizes was a lacrosse stick, and I said, I'm going to sell enough chances to get my first lacrosse stick, and then my baseball career ended. So baseball started my lacrosse career and ended my baseball career. They just didn't know it by selling.
Yeah. Well, listen, I played baseball all the way up through 8th grade, and then I went to prep school. And I ran track my first year. I was a hurtler. I ran cross country. I didn't want to play football because I didn't want to get hurt and ruin my hockey career. I was a hockey guy. I went to hockey school every summer. I just wanted to play pro. That was my ambition. And after my freshman year, I saw these lacrosse guys out, and then I can't, so I got my hands on a stick and I played some wall ball. I came back. I played JV my sophomore year, and I said, man, I'm making the varsity my junior and senior year. I'm not, so I played wall ball all summer and came back, and one of my buds that I'm still friends with, he was our senior year. He was captain of the lacrosse team and the football team. I was captain of the hockey team. And anyway, he and I were the only juniors that made the team. Listen, I went to prep school, so you know how it goes. We had 500 people. We were all athletes, and we played all the big high schools and stuff, but basically you were very senior heavy, and you get playing time or even to make the team if you were, junior or a kicktail sophomore. So making the team, it was awesome, but it was like David and Goliath in New Jersey. We were a really small school. We played all the big prep schools around there, but we also played all the big high schools. So I mean, and they all wanted to beat up on the preppies. And yeah. Oh, here comes Petty, man. We got to kick the Falcons' tails, man. We're not gonna let those guys come in, but we gave everybody a good run for the money, and I always like being the underdog. I just think it's a good way to play. So, but lacrosse guys, we kind of stick together, no pun intended, and it's just one of those things. So Chris, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to do it in three parts. We're going to you're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up where you are today. And then we'll talk about the last 3 years, lessons learned that we all have gone through over the last, through the roller coaster, et cetera, and any new products that you might be pitching that our listeners out there on commercial construction coffee talk might find of interest. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, and then we'll close it out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I grew up on Long Island in New York, and hence why.
What town? What say it?
Yeah, I got to give the shout out to Floral Park.
There you go.
Yeah, and the claim to fame to Floral Park is actually it's the home of Belmont Racetrack. So my high school, where I played lacrosse, right on the field there, across was where the ponies would train. So I'd sit in English class and watch them do a little timing, see who's running fast, or not fast, for that day's race or whatever. And it was exciting, from that aspect of it. It's just New York is just a global input of life. So to grow up there for 18 years of my life was really exciting. Realized that I wanted to do two things in my life. I wanted to play lacrosse, and I wanted to get a degree in recreation. And at the time, I wanted to be a park ranger.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've always loved the outdoors. Was big into the Boy Scouts, and hiking and camping and all those things, canoeing and stuff. And so my lacrosse coach helped me find a school. He sat down the juniors and he said, "Listen, what do you want to do in life? What do you want to study? Do you also want to play lacrosse?" And he went out and he went and found schools for each one of us that fit that. And he found a school called Radford University, small little liberal arts school in just outside of Roanoke and Blacksburg in Virginia. And they had a Division I lacrosse team. And then on top of it, they had a wonderful outdoor recreation management program.
Awesome.
And so I spent 4 years in the hills of Virginia studying recreation, playing lacrosse, and I really enjoyed it. It was, it was experience like any other. To put it in context, my final project to get out of school was to be the raft guide for the Boy Scouts on the New River. And it was an amazing experience. And they gave me 12 credits for it.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other reason that I went to a school in Virginia was that I'm a history buff, and I always wanted to know how history was told in other parts of the United States, because it's uniquely different. The West was settled later, the North and South had a war, and so people think, even though we're one country, people do still think differently and have been taught differently based on geography. Sure. And so I always said that I went there to find out how to hold history.
Awesome.
And I will tell you, I absolutely did learn. I mean, I'm sure, living in Georgia yourself, you see it too, and hear it differently.
Listen, I'm a damn living in the South because I came down here in '92 and I stayed here. So Listen, Atlanta's full of history. Anywhere you go down through the South, when you look back at the Civil War, some of the cities got burned, some of them didn't. My son lives in Charleston, and there's so much history. Virginia, Thomas Jefferson came from there. I mean, there's just,
Yeah.
you got all of those historical sites, awesome to go visit any time of the year. And you're right. Depending on where you are in the country, is going to mold you who you are. I mean, New Yorkers are completely different than people that are in the South.
Absolutely.
And the South ends basically when you get to Georgia, Florida line. When you get into Florida, I really don't really consider it the South. It's Florida, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, from Georgia up to Virginia, that's basically where the South is. And then, Delaware, Maryland, you're getting up into the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic area, so
Well, yeah, and I really do prescribe to the fact that if you really want to understand people, you have to go where they live, and you have to ask questions, and if you have the opportunity to live, in the areas that you want to learn about. And that's why I went to school there, and actually how I ended up in Maine. After graduating, I literally packed up my little Civic, spent 2 weeks at home, realized recreation guy is not going to be able to survive on Long Island, living in his parents' basement. And I packed it up, drove up here, and 25 years later, I've somehow figured out how to make a living, and it's been awesome.
Hey, listen,
Uh,
I don't talk to many people that are Eagle Scouts. My father was one. Boys, we load first one I packed to get all my pins, and then I did the tenderfoot thing, and then I went to prep school. So they were my career in the Boy Scouts. But if it probably stayed locally, I probably would have gone and got it. But having talking to a person that got his Eagle Scouts, that's pretty tremendous. I mean, change with the Boy Scouts from way back
sure.
when, but getting it, it's like getting a black belt. I mean, not
Yeah,
everybody's an Eagle Scout. I mean, that's like an awesome accomplishment. So congrats.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, it is. It's what you get out of it. Like even though you said you were a tenderfoot, you still participated in Scouts, and it's like anything. If you are part of something, you're going to take something that will be an influence in your life later in or during that time. And for me, Scouts was a big piece of it. And I set that goal. I wanted to be an Eagle. And I wear it as a badge for sure, right? I don't ever say that I was an Eagle. I say I am an Eagle
Yeah. Yeah.
because the what it instilled in me is all those the way that I live my life today. That's an important piece of it, and it helped absolutely. The leaders that I had helped, shape me during that time period, absolutely have, helped me in my adult life shape who I am. And I'm ever grateful for sure.
So when you moved up to Maine, did you get a job with the outdoors gig or?
I did. I ended up actually working for an outfitter for a while, and but then my first real job, after that, or corporate job was with a map company, and the name of the company was Delorme Mapping. They're actually now owned by Garmin. It was really a fascinating company. It was a technology company that also did paper maps. They made the Atlas and Gazetteers for every state. And the on top of it, the gentleman that started the company, he also built the world's largest rotating globe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was working. I came at a real time in the early 2000s. He was for companies to be able to geographically place data and data layers on top and use like Street View and aerial photography. And this is way before Google.
Yeah.
So I worked on a project, we called it Ladybug, and it was a camera that he had built, that the team had built around, all these different cameras that was on top of a CRV, and he was driving around Maine, you know,
Mapping.
mapping the streets just as they do today. and it was way ahead of the time. It was amazing. I learned a lot. What I did learn that I think will resonate with people today is that individuals or localization is very important. So most people think of their surrounding of a 5 mile radius. So like when we search on our phones, it's for near me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's about a 5 mile radius. So if your road is wrong on Apple Maps or Google Maps, that's a big problem. And that's why they've created such feedback loops, getting that information correct, because it's so important to you, me, and everybody else. So it's a 5 mile radius, which is the localization of us as humans.
So continue on with your story. So you're doing the mapping thing, the guy with the globe, the GIS, and continue
Yeah.
on.
Well, so I was in sales, and I was selling um, to outdoor stores. And what I quickly realized that they were working, they were trying to sell other products when I was trying to call them. And then I was like, well, there's this thing called the internet, and we could create a buying process, and we could use email to get them to order when they actually do their ordering, usually at night. So we created this email campaign and ordering process, real simple, rudimentary, and my phone time dropped, my sales increased, and I said, there's something here.
Yeah, yeah.
I ended up finding a small little e-service providing company, a little startup. We were 4 people, 2 dogs, called Quotient, right downtown Portland. And they had built a platform that did mass email, and did segmentation, did all the things that have now become accustomed to, and question if they have those things from a standpoint of being able to send email, from
Mm-hmm.
a corporate standpoint. And we built this system, ended up selling it to a company, Scott Shaw, who started Fishbowl, saw that we had this system that would really help his business, and he was solely focused on restaurants. So I was actually never in restaurants up until the day that Scott acquired our company. And I spent 7 years there helping restaurants understand the digital ecosystem. And it was amazing. I had opportunities to work with some of the largest brands in the world and help them shape their digital foundation. So a lot of the things that they are doing today, I was instrumental in helping them build those things from a foundational piece when I was at Fishbowl. And from a career standpoint, it was such an opportunity. And looking back on it, I'm so grateful for everyone that I worked with at Fishbowl, because it was a total team effort.
No, I
You know,
remember Fishbowl when they came out. I mean, listen, I looked at about 50 different magazines a month during my publishing career. So I remember Fishbowl and that. So I walk the NRA show every year and very familiar with, what you're talking about.
yeah,
Wow.
and they were an
Kind of came out of
agency.
nowhere, it just
Well,
did.
yeah, they were an agency, and to Scott's credit, he saw where the future was going. And he realized that he needed to be able to blend technology and agency together, and because restaurants, they really need help. They need that hand holding, but they also need the backbone of the technology, and they have the staff and the knowledge now to be able to do it. And fusing it together, it was wonderful. It's exactly what the industry needed. And you look at 15 years later now, it's that foundational piece. And now what I'm doing today is that next stage of it, right? It's I'm dealing with marketplaces and the whole third party aspect of business, and diversifying their channel management, which is just as important as it was then. People walking in their restaurants driving traffic digitally. Now it's driving traffic digitally across multiple channels.
Listen, if you're a restaurant, you don't care how your food's sold, whether they come in or if you want to get it delivered, it's still a plus because it's product going, in people's stomachs, whether it's in the brick and mortar or it's at their house, they're still ordering from you, and it goes everything's towards your bottom line.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they're ordering from as a customer, and every point that they are touching your brand is an opportunity, and you have to seize those opportunities when they present themselves. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and I've worked for payment companies and IoT companies and startups, and I would consider myself a startup junkie. I enjoy leading edge systems that are pushing the envelope to help operators. So it's always been in hospitality. I just love the people. I think that it's people in this industry just really gravitate to kindness, and there's nothing better than that. And if I can help them with a small little bit that I can do, it's a win for everyone.
The restaurateurs, it's not like retailers, it's very competitive, but on the restaurant side, it's like a family gig. They're not as competitive. They want everybody to, obviously they want as many customers as coming through the doors as they can, and but it's a different kind. It's like podcasters, like other shows, and we're not competitors, and so the restaurant field is the same way. And especially if they're not in a big chain and they're independent, maybe they own a couple different types of restaurants and so forth, but they have that entrepreneurial spirit, but also, they want it to be family. They want people to be, working with them for a long time. And, whether you're, a waitron or you're a cashier or you're a cook, they want to maintain their employees, their hierarchy for as long as they can, because once someone leaves, you got to retrain someone, and then with technology the way it is and everything else, it's very tough. So keeping those people employed and happy campers to stay at those places, it's very important. It's just like a contractor. You don't want your subs to leave. It's the same concept. So
yeah, you can't. It's a people business, and you have to make sure that you're putting all the things in place and you're learning. So like to your point, there's a lot of sharing going on within this community, and that's really important to the survival of it, because like anybody to say that they can do it alone is fooling everyone, and ultimately will not be successful. It does take a village, and we all need to share and create these feedback loops, right, of information, because right, they say right, a rising tide lifts all boats. There's a lot of truth to that.
Oh yeah,
I know I live
absolutely.
in Maine and everything, so I had to
Yeah.
bring the nautical
Oh yeah.
theme there. But it is true. It's people, if we share and in our expertise and our knowledge, and somebody an ounce of it and do better themselves, then we'll win. We'll all win. And
So no, well, what I was going to say is, so you're doing the technology thing, you're helping the restaurants. 2020 comes up, and then depending on what state we're in with the roller coaster and the shutdown, it didn't hurt the restaurant industry. About how you helped your clients, weather that storm over the last 3 years, and how technology kind of helped them, because it really depended on where you were geographically in the country. But these everybody had to, like myself. I mean, I was a startup. I was with Nielsen, and I left and started out with a press release, a phone, and a fax machine back in 2001. You know,
awesome.
I just, I got people to stay with me. Um, it was just a transition, and now I've gone through all the dips and the dot-com crash and 9/11, and let's see, we had the housing crash, and but this one was different because no one really knew what was going to happen. And they said it was going to be about 3 weeks. Here we are 3.5 years later, and we're still kind of talking about it. Even though we're kind of out of the woods, we're still having little bumps and potholes that everybody's been gone through. So talk about, kind of the last 3 years of, in March of 2020 when things went, kaput, and till today, kind of how you worked with your clients, and you were at Bush at that time, right?
No, no. I was at another company, but all centered around hospitality. And you said it right, Dave. Like the industry, restaurants and hospitality and hotels, and right, it was devastated, and and unfortunately, and the silver lining or the part of it, I think, is that it made them realize that they had to do something. They had no choice. They had to figure out how to keep the lights on and to survive. And technology was that silver lining for them. The ones that had been early adopters, those are the ones that thrived during those horrible times. The ones that then were catching up, they survived, and now they're starting to thrive because what do they say? It takes 21 days to create a habit. Well, we took 3 years to create many habits, and one of the habits that we created was that we like convenience, and that convenience when it comes to restaurants is getting our food delivered. And that 3 years has completely shifted the mindset of the consumer, which has now transcended down into the restaurant ecosystem, completely changing from, I'm sure you see it in the construction side of things, right? Smaller footprints, different build outs from a kitchen perspective, right? Now their make lines are more digitally third-party delivery space. We have ghost kits that, with multiple brands, and people putting restaurants in grocery stores, or using boxes, like cargo boxes, and doing build outs in those. I think, like, to your question about like where, I think it was actually a very good thing for the industry because it level set everybody. And now the digitally focused brands are the ones that are going to survive, that are going to continue to grow and open up new locations, because the consumer has chosen that they want the convenience of one tap order, or a DoorDash experience, or a first party experience, but all digitally. And the other side of it is that it's opened up multiple channels of commerce that were not available 5, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, right? It was very much, you go to your brick and mortar taco stand, right? And you get tacos and you eat and you leave. Now I could go there, I could order on DoorDash, right? On my third parties, I can order on my first parties. It's amazing.
I just my son, he works for Boeing, and he waits, and so he wants all these parts. So he turned me on to this thing. I just tried it this week. It was called Factor, and they give you these protein meals, and just as good, but it's delivered. They deliver you 8 to 10 meals a week, and you can choose what items that you want. You pop them in the microwave, boom. But it's not like your typical Swanson TV. Nothing against Swanson. I love them. I made millions of them over the years. But they showed up in a couple of days, and he gave me a coupon, so I only had to pay, I don't know, $11 to try the thing, and I still got a couple of them in there that I've got to eat. But it was really cool that that segment of people, like he works the 2 11 shifts, so he's got to eat dinner at work. So, and he doesn't want to eat junk because he waits, and he's in that mode. And so he sent me this coupon, emailed it to me. I'm like, what is this? He goes, Dad, I'm doing this thing. You should check it out, man. I got you a good deal. You only have to do is pay for shipping. If you want to continue with it, you can. If not, you just cancel it. And so we just got it this week, and my wife's eating some, and this, and she was like, you should have looked at other stuff. But I was like, oh, I just want to look at what was in the box. Let me eat.
Yeah.
Listen, I eat anything that's in front of me. So you know,
And but that's a really good example of like an opportunity for restaurants, that could do that could do mail order, right? The Omaha Steaks or this Factor, like that's another commerce channel. There's the CPG aspect of it, and innovation has happened to the point where now getting things to market is a lot faster. And
mhm.
and restaurants are starting to figure that out. They realize that the consumer is digitally focused. I mean, we're going to come to a point very shortly that the only way that people will communicate or are communicating is not through a phone call, right? It's through text message or through an app-based experience. And we're not that far off of that generation that's how they grew up. And
Yeah.
they will have buying power. And they definitely communicate and buy differently than you, Dave. And then the subsequent generation of your son and my son, totally different. And like, if we're not paying attention to that as operators and for us technologists, we're missing the future holds for us.
I've been taking digital classes. I'm just about ready to launch for over the last year or so. I'm just about ready to launch my digital agency. And your phone, everybody's got one. So this
Mhm.
is your best tool just to market from. And 93% of the people that get a text will look at it versus an email, because unless you have to log in or whatever. But text, it's so much easier, and you can market to them, and you can send video sales letters and all this other stuff. And it was mind blowing when I was looking at and looking at it, and because everybody's got a phone, and whenever they get a notification or if they get a text, they're going to look at it versus an email, and if they're not, and they don't have to log in, so they're with you. And believe me, my son doesn't even know what a magazine is, or when I show him, he's like, I look at everything online. He's looking, he's looking on there, he's looking at a tablet, whatever it might be, and so, but it's technology, and it's at it's your fingertips, and there's 8 billion people on the planet. They're all on the web. They're all going to be, if you want to make contact with them, and, and and the minute you're on the web, I don't care if you're just a little podunk restaurant in the middle of the Waterville Valley, New Hampshire, by the ski resort or whatever, that you're a global company. It doesn't matter, because,
Yeah.
and you might have some cool syrup or something that you could market and have a distribution center, or get it distributed through another channel and market it. But you've got to think about it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
technology is there that you can accomplish this stuff. And that's what's been, I mean, like I said, when I went digital and I gave back to print, boy, that was like so dicey for me to not be able to hold something in my hand. I mean, I was up all night when I first went, but then, as I saw it, it was like, oh yeah, people are like, oh yeah, listen, I don't need the magazines, and I have ones that I put on my shelf. They've gained dust, and but I still like holding them, but I don't miss it. And but technology is just made everything. I mean, I don't care. It's just, it makes everything so much more efficient, and you can track it. So
Yeah.
think,
Well, and it has infinite possibilities, right? So there's Moore's law, which was kind of right. It was built around, or the law was built around computing power and have this infinite amount of possibilities. Now, some people would say that there is ends to it, to Moore's law. I don't know, but I like to get to what I do and who I work with, and the think about like a bartender, and you have all these different spirits that you can make drinks with. Well, there's infinite possibilities, because your brain is different than my brain, and my cocktail that I come up with all those different things is going to be completely different than yours. But we could have been told to make something that was, let's say a Moscow Mule, but I wanted to do it a little bit differently than yours. So there's this infinite possibilities to iterate off of the things that were already created. And technology accelerates that, right? And that's why we've seen the maturation of things, right? That people aren't reinventing new wheels. They're just making the wheel better. or bigger, or smaller, or whatever, right? And I find that to be fascinating because it transcends, like, the brewery business is a really good example. I spent some time at a previous company working with brewers, and just as you were talking about restaurants being collaborative and sharing, that industry is even more about sharing, an industry where they will work together on a specific beer based on recipes that they have, and they bring them together, and again, it compounds the amount of things that they can do. It's, it's one coming together as a group, bringing smart people to do smart things.
Yeah, we have a craft brew section in our craft brand, that's what we call it. But we're really interested in the hops, but we're interested in the marketing and the construction side of how they decide they want what type of equipment they want to have, or how they decide on their location and their site, and then the whole aspect of it from a marketing standpoint. And
Oh, it's super important because, right, realize that if you control the manufacturing piece of it, which they do, and then, in the old days, right, it was only distribution. You couldn't sell in a tap room, but now the laws have changed, and now they can sell direct. And so now it's creating the marketing experience to get people to come, because you're going to make more margin on your beer that you just made in the back, right? And then you create this whole experience, and then you have distribution. It's total different mindset than in this, in the 70s, in the heyday of beer, when it was all distribution. And the craft beer movement, I think there's like 900 craft brewers in the United States, and they're all figuring it out. They're all collectively, in a sense, unionized under the Craft Brewers Guild. Just doing some incredible stuff, making concoctions that you and I never even thought would be a malty beverage.
Yeah, I invested in a craft brewer called Armed Forces Brewer, and it was with Rob O'Neill, who got Osama bin Laden. He was with the SEALs. Anyway, they were raising money, and they wanted to purchase a building, that was already there, and their plan was to open up the facility and to distribute their distribution across the country, through different outlets. So now they finally, it's outside the Navy Yard in Norfolk, in Virginia, and now they're opening up their second in somewhere in over flyover country. I think it might be in anyway. I just got the email from them. I'm going to have Alan, the CEO. He's going to be after. I think it's in first quarter of 2024. We're going to have him on the cover of CBAM. That's Craft Band and Marketing, our section in there. But it was really cool when he sent me. So I was like, I'm gonna put cash in here and what goes, and here they are. They've got their gig. They're helping veterans out. They take some of their money, and so the craft brewers. You're right. They're very very tight knit, but they've got all, especially listen. A lot of those put it on the chin too, but then they were making hand sanitizer and all this stuff, and then they were trying to do street delivery depending on where you were at, and so it was a hot market, and I always like adding to the magazine, and we just started, and and like you said, I was just in LA, and someone told me that they lost about 70% of the restaurants in Los Angeles, and but now we had a reception in a brand new place. It was Barbecue and Spirits. It was in El Segundo. We took the SoFi tour, and then we went over to El Segundo, and it was a brand new restaurant. It was an old building that they renovated, and delicious. The beer assortment was great, and it was really nice to see, things coming back.
Yeah.
But it was a shame that a lot of those people got crushed.
No, it is. And so what I'm doing today, you mentioned the company Voosh. It's an interesting piece of technology. What we've discovered is that there's a $450 million problem for restaurants today. And it actually centers around third-party marketplaces and the dispute process. So what that means is that the operator is being passed on the cost. So if, Dave, you ordered food from DoorDash and you didn't, you were missing an item, or it was cold, or whatever the problem might have been from your side of things, you could call and dispute the claim, and DoorDash would give you your money back. Well, the Ubers, the DoorDashes, and the Grubhubs are passing that on to the operator, saying, "Hey, you can file that claim and tell us that it wasn't your fault." And they have then the power to say yes or no. And so it's a manual process for these operators to do. And you're in this business, like we were talking about workforce management. They don't have time. Nobody has time as an operator to go and deal with incremental disputes, because they happen. It's all over the map, and it's very hard to manage. And so Voosh was built to help operators manage this process.
Yeah, so they probably have it all, you get the complaint, it gets put into that database or that list or whatever, and then they look at it and they figure what they're going to do with it, correct? Versus doing it manually. It's all done by technology.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're automating the claim process, helping operators be more efficient and effective, and then also giving them a consolidated view of their channels. So, making sure that they understand their P&Ls and, within these marketplaces, and that, they can, understand what they're doing from a promotion standpoint, because it's a very siloed systems that they would have to use, and it's not efficient from a management perspective. So we help them do that, and so that they can squeeze a little bit more lemon juice out of the lemon is what it comes down to.
No, hey, listen, if technology can get some of that time, you can spend more on, improving the bottom line on your business. And, like I said, if you're a restaurateur or, a hotelier, you want people coming into your building. You want your occupancy to be as at the capacity you can. And but if you got to deal with all these little headaches here and there, hey, how come my steak was cold or whatever? But versus having it done on good technology, and if the manager goes in his office, you can go in there. Oh, we only had one of those happen tonight. Great, boom, 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 done. Next, I can go out and see how people like their meat,
Well,
right?
yeah, and restaurants typically have not had to deal with fraud. So fraud is a very new thing for them, because now they're in the digital channels and fraud is rampant. And people are trying to game the system, and it's not always the operator's fault. The one thing that restaurants do really well is operations, and they're doing everything possible to make sure that the food when it's handed out to that driver, that it is done and everything's been picked and packed and made, and it's up to brand standards. Now, things happen, right? But not 100% of the time, and so it's not fair. And so I'm here to help is the way that I look. Figure out the game they're playing, and look, see, now I get the little pop up. But figure out the game that they're doing, that they're playing, and then what's the equipment, right? Going back to lacrosse, what's the equipment we need to play that game? And that's where Voosh and myself and my team comes in for operators.
So if someone was out there, if you're a restaurateur out there, or if you're a hotel and in that hospitality arena, and they wanted to reach out with you to find out more about your technology, your platform, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can find us at voosh.ai, or you can email me.
And that's VOOSH, right?
Yep, voosh.ai. And then my email address is chris@voosh.ai. So
simple enough. Right.
Simple
So listen, if you're out there and you haven't seen the technology, reach out to Chris. He'll give you the demo and you can see how it works. And if it's a fit, great. If not, at least you know that it's out there. And technology right now is at warp speed, AI and everything else. So as things evolve, timing in business is everything. It might not be a fit right now, but at least you know that it's something that you can do. But all I can tell you is if you do take advantage of technology, it'll make your life so much easier. And you can spend your time where you really need to, spend your time, which is basically, making meals or making drinks, et cetera, and looking at your books at the end of the month, and hopefully you're on the upscale. So if someone wanted to read me, they can get me at davidc.ccr-mag.com. Listen, Chris reached out to me on LinkedIn. We were talking lacrosse, and I was like, hey, you should be on my podcast. This would be a really cool subject. So I really didn't know until he told me what he did and stuff. So that's how you get on. Send me a press release. Send me a message. Tell me, why you want to be on, and boom, there you go. And us lax guys, we kind of had that going on. So he had that over you. But listen, if you're a badminton guy or a soccer player, I love talking to athletes, okay? Because they understand about winning and losing, learning from your mistakes, pain, bruises. You still got to get up and do it again the next day. And so that's how I get on here. And listen, if you have if we look at everything, and I always tell people, if you know a lottery ticket, you can't win the lottery. So if you don't send me something, or if you reach out to me, it could be an anniversary, it could be a new product line, it could be a new personnel announcement, it could be a case study, a project profile. We look at everything. Send it to us. And our turnaround time, our TAT, is probably 48, 72 hours. But I have a digital specialist. I send that stuff to her. She gets it up. She'll send the URL. You can share it. It's good for SEO, which is search engine optimization. It helps all the algorithm and Google find you. And it's a win-win. And don't judge anything by its cover. Let us do it. Okay. And we've got plenty of platforms. Very tough to get in the magazine, but if you don't make it in the magazine, we find a place for it. So send us that stuff. So as we finish out the year, Chris, and we're moving into 2024 and the New Year's right down the pike, what positive thought or phrase would you like to leave with our listeners before we end our session here?
Yeah, so I would say that we should listen more than we speak. And this comes from a sales guy, by the way. Listening is going to be important for all of us. If we don't listen, we really don't understand what we're going to say then, right? So active listening is probably the most important thing, and something that I think about every day, because feedback and that listening piece of it is how that one we will innovate, and how we can figure out how we can help each other. And that's what I would say to your listeners.
Someone said along to me, hey, stick a sock in your mouth and keep your ears open. Listen and take it all in, because the day you stop listening, the day you should go do something else. Myself, I building my digital agency. I have a business page. I nurtured everyday quotes and all this stuff. And I was thinking about what I was going to post the other night, and it was basically, it's not what you don't have, it's what you have. And it's not, I can't do it. It's how am I going to do it? So all those things come in there. You can't have that negative attitude. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. No, you can do it. You just have to figure out a way to get it done. Just like with technology. Hey, how can we help them? Get their food and let the operators have more time to run their business versus dealing with little nicky ticky tacky things that that are, oh, my steak was cold or whatever. So, and you want to keep all those people happy, but with technology you can do it, and you don't have to take away from your.
Yeah, you have the humans do the human things and the robots do the robot things, and then trust the people that have the robots, that they're listening to you. And that's really where the basis of this. But I do have a lacrosse story to tell you that I think you'll appreciate. So I coached high school lacrosse, which I didn't tell you about earlier. I coached for 3 years here in the state of Maine, and I went to 2 state championship games, which was a wonderful ride as a coach, because I got to see the kids come together. And it was back-to-back years that we did it.
Wow.
And it was amazing from the first day I stepped on the field in March to the time that the state championship ended in June. It was an amazing ride for 2 years. And one of the things that I realized was, like, talent, being able to evaluate it and understanding strengths and weaknesses is really important as a coach. Right? And you need to be able to put people in right positions based on their strengths and weaknesses. And I had this one kid, and he was a midfielder. He was a soccer player. Very wasn't a very good catch. Could catch sometimes,
Yeah.
throw it sometimes, right? He was a ball hawk. And so I was in charge of schemes, or riding and clearing, as you know. And I loved it. I love the open field, because you as a coach, you have this, big canvas to play with, and about position and timing. And I had the philosophy that I could get an extra possession. If I can get an extra possession on a ride, I could win the game. And I would tell you that philosophy rode me right into two state championship games, because I could get another possession. But so this kid, really good. I'd stick him out, if it was a sub ball, right? Ref goes up, says, you can sub, I'd sub him in, right? And now, he wasn't playing on a line or anything, but I would put him in for the ride, and he would sit in the middle of the field and watch the ball, because I would make sure that I would position the attackman to make sure that, right, you want the longest throw.
Right.
He would ball hawk. He would knock it out of the midi stick or the defenseman's stick, and it would be on the ground. And I worked with him every day on just scooping that ball up, getting you real low, and getting me that extra possession. I will tell you, we won games, probably, 2 or 3 goal games, and it was because of that extra possession that he could get me.
Hey, listen, possession is what it's all about, because when you have the ball, you can get scored on, period. And when you do have the ball, if you don't take the shot, you're not a scorer. So you got to take as many shots as you can, and your shooting percentage is, if you hit the net, you might get a rebound. It might, it's kind of a little different in hockey. You might get the bouncing, it might go in. But I'm on the same wavelength. We used to go through and watch the film, but I used to just drill it into these guys at the high school level, and I'm like, possession, ground balls, and shooting percentage. You don't know how important it is. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't have to rip the ball. Bounce the ball in on OTG. On the ground. On the ground. You miss the net. Put it at the goalie's feet, and I guarantee it's going to go in, and you're going to get a rebound. And I at my last high school, I was at Pinecrest Academy, and they had never won the state championships. And my goalie on my men's team brought me on as the offensive coordinator, and we made the states for the first time. So we got in our pictures. They had all the other, sports on their, by their field, and we got our little plaque on there. And we won our first game, and then we had to play another team, and they were much better than us. But we could have beaten them, but I think it just got the aura of making it to the second round, and they didn't bring their A game, and we ended up losing, in the second round. But I'll tell you, just making it to the states was the parents were just ecstatic, because they had I had a bunch of seniors on that team, and we knocked off a couple big dudes here in Georgia, and
Mm.
and we used to little school like Penn was in New Jersey, and be back to, like 20 years ago, or when I was I'm longer than that now, but still the same thing. And it was David and Goliath, and but getting into the states, it was like we'd won the Super Bowl, and
Oh, it's amazing for these kids, right? It's because they figure it out, and you remember, when you were that young, like, you're just trying to figure out where you fit into the world, and sports and teams, and allow for them to do it together. And then when they put the pieces together, so to your point about talking to athletes, and why you enjoy it, and how I totally agree with you. Like, they have the success metrics already figured out to be successful in life, because they've had to do it together. They've had to work within, their, the confines of a team.
and with
And
all different personalities too.
oh yeah, all, you have the superstars to the bench players, and all those personalities and skill level sets that, to get to a pinnacle of, like, a state championship game, just to get to the game, you
Yeah,
put all those things in play. You have to be committed to each other. Like, it doesn't happen to everybody, right? There's only 2 teams
yeah,
that end up in a championship game. And I think that's, like, I think something to be said for, and what resonated when we last spoke was that it is really about putting together the right people with the right mindset. You can do special things, and I think sports absolutely teaches.
And you take that to your on the business side, it's the same thing. You're putting the people together, you get a plan. If it doesn't, you got to be flexible to tweak it. But once you figure it out, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You only just want to make little tweaks and so forth that you need to. But I'm right with, like I said, I always like talking to athletes because they understand about winning and losing. They understand about the team aspect. You can still have an individual flair, but you still have to have that team. There's no I in team. And
But I'll
it
tell you, that's the same mindset is for startups. Startups, you got to be, you have to find opportunities. You got to, like the bear, right? You have to uncover every rock to see what's underneath there. And, you can't just rest on the laurels of not doing. Like in sports, you show up to practice every day, get better. You show up games, right? You get your game day mindset. And it's no different in the startup world. You practice every day,
Mhm.
and there's, when you get the meeting, that's game day,
Yeah, no,
right?
no doubt.
And then you close it, right? What do they say? ABC, always be closing.
Yeah, always be closing, absolutely. And but transition to my close here, always be closing and so forth. Listen, if first things first, if you're watching this video, hit the like button. Okay, we want to find the algorithm so we can find Chris's story out on YouTube. So I really appreciate you being a subscriber. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. Love to hear from you. Number one. Number two, if you're on a construction site, we want you to be safe. All right. So you can go home, see your kids, have dinner, catch some Z's, and go do it the next day. All right. That's the most important thing. Number three, even though it's getting, the winter's coming in, fall weather and the heat, listen, you still got to stay hydrated. Okay. Hydration is like the most important thing in sports because if you don't stay hydrated, you get headaches, you're not be able to play, you make mistakes. On the construction site, if you get dehydrated, you make mistakes, that's how you get hurt. So make sure that you're drinking your, well, I just drank all my electrolytes. I got to fill another one out. But bottom line is stay hydrated. You'll feel much better. Okay. You got to keep yourself, liquefied. So, with that said, Chris, pleasure talking to a lax guy. And, it's amazing. He just sent me an email. I said, "Hey, I saw your invite. I see you're a lax guy. Hey, let's set up a meeting. We'll talk some lax." And that's how we talk, and that's how we got on here. So,
How we are.
that's how lax. It's like a fraternity, man. We just stick together. So, what a great conversation. And with that said, say goodbye up in Maine.
Well, I appreciate it, Dave. You have an awesome rest of your day, and I look forward to talking with you more and seeing what this comes about.
And listen, I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, about 25 north of downtown Atlanta, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier. And listen, weekends ahead of us. You got TGIF, the evening here. Enjoy the weekend. Listen, recharge your mindset, stay positive, get rid of all those negative wavelengths. You got Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of weeks, and then you got the holidays, and before you know, Christmas, Hanukkah, boom, New Year's, and this year's over. 2023, see you later. It's been a wild ride. And God, if you think 2023 was a wild ride, wait until 2024 comes into bay. It's going to be, I mean, every day I'm drained of just what's happening in the world. So, but I'm positive. Let's look at the glass half full or half empty. I'm just glad I have a glass to look at. Okay. So, or a lacrosse stick to hold in my hand. I mean, I just feel like the luckiest guy in the world. So everybody out there, we'll see you next time. Ciao.